Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's first law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
George, the Archlector.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
As you all know, we're covering The Blade itself, the first book in the original trilogy. Today we'll be covering Three Signs, the Theatrical Outfitters, and Barbarians at the Gate on this episode. So let's get started. First, I want to just, again, thank everyone that's been listening, our 6 listeners. You guys are dedicated to the cause. And if we could ask that you guys just continue to support us on Reddit and also social media, it would make me feel better if we had more followers.
It needs to happen because Jeff is going to start feeling like he's not good enough. Do it for Jeff. Hashtag get rid of Jeff's guilt conscience.
Jessica, yes. Thanks. Please get rid of it. I'd be grateful. And I will be, on Instagram at least, I will be starting to do this idea I just came up with today was I'm going to reenact segments that we've done on the podcast, like our dramatic readings and such, but with my ferrets.
That sounds incredible.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. It's gonna be great. So
isn't one of your ferrets called Logan, Jeff?
Yeah, Logan, and Logan has scars now because he had a muscular biopsy.
Oh,
yeah, because he actually is suffering from an autoimmune disorder. If anyone's interested, that apparently kills baby ferrets, but he's fighting through it. So there you go.
Strong ass ferret, bro.
Yeah. So yeah, just again, our social media handles generally are at Circle of the World Podcast, except for Twitter. I think that's COTW Pod. Correct, George?
Absolutely.
Great.
And just send us your questions, guys. We want more questions. We need more stuff to talk about. So
we need more
content.
Give
us the
content. You do our job for us and think of all the interesting things to talk about, please.
Yeah, exactly. We need more material for fanfic. And what else? What else do we need besides the content? We need all the content, honestly. That's all we need, really. All right. So let's start with our first chapter read-through, which is Three Signs. So this chapter, we are starting off with Major West point of view, Major Column West. And once we start this chapter, we're at the end of a little sparring session between West and Giselle. And Giselle has been improving. Let's say that, right?
Absolutely. The scales have tipped, and now Giselle is getting the best of West in most matches, which is nice. And he's actually showing a bit of enthusiasm, which is nice to see because he's just been a bit of a dickhead so far.
Yes.
And he improves pretty quick too. I mean, so far, it's probably been a couple weeks, at most a month, and he's already improved immensely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What quitting drinking will do to you.
Well, listen. Let's not go there. Let's just say what commitment will do to you. All right. We don't need to bash drinking right now. Let's not.
I mean, as I was saying that sentence, I was drinking a beer, so
And as I was defending drinking, I was drinking my bourbon. So.
Oh dear.
Mm. All right.
I think it's funny here too that after he beats him, he beats him in a little, he knocks him on his ass or whatever. Bruce is like, fencing is a young man's game.
Yeah.
West is only 30 years old. And Bruce is like over 60. It's like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I love Pacey's line, his delivery of that line. It was like, West at 30 was still feeling quite vigorous.
West was all touchy of that. He's like, motherfucker. But then there was like some self-admission that he had never been the most gifted swordsman. So I guess it just came from, guile and cunning and hard work, for him to win the contest back in his heyday. So then afterwards, Varuz is like, we have a chance. Well done, guys. I'll see you guys later. And then he leaves. West is getting ready to dip. And he asked Giselle what Giselle's up to, and Giselle, a terrible liar for a great card player, apparently.
Well, he's out of practice, isn't he? He's
yeah.
Just like with Galacta, he's out of practice.
Yeah, well,
or he's not as good as he thinks he is.
Yeah, exactly. And so when West is asking Giselle, "What do you got planned today?" Giselle's just like, well, I don't know."
Yeah.
I
Just
don't know.
totally transparent, isn't he?
Yeah. And then Wes
He's like, nothing at all. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then Wes confronts him about Artie. And then he's like, "What? What if I wanted to hang out with Artie?" And then Wes, this is the debut of Wes
losing his shit.
Yeah, infamous temper. This is the debut right here.
Oh yeah. We've heard up till now that he has a temper. Somebody, he's got a bit of a devil of a temper. He does, first through the preacher Oriok and all that. But we haven't actually seen it yet. And the fact that he just goes from 0 to 100 in about 2 seconds here is pretty scary.
Yeah, I mean, Giselle hardly says anything right here. He's just like, maybe, yeah, think maybe I will. And then he's like, oh.
Yeah, he just snaps. And he has, like he says, "I won't have her trifled with. She's been hurt before. I will not have you hurt her because, I've seen how you treat women," which is, on one hand, it's admirable. But on the other hand, I think, Harrison, you pointed out that a lot of West's trouble, his feelings, where the issues come with his sister, come from his worry about his place in society, right?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. Like, if this is the first time he actually defends Artie's position, and like for her honor, this is the first time he's not talking shit on her. The entire so far, he's her sister. She's been there for months, and probably this is the first time he's said anything positive about her. And it's not even a positive thing. He's basically just saying she's been hurt before, which is
It's
vague.
a comment.
Much information.
And then that's it. It's like the first time that he's doing it, just because he's out of kindness, I guess.
Yeah.
I do think you're right, Harrison, that West is ultimately quite a selfish character, because we've seen it twice from his perspective now, where he literally doesn't spare a single thought of his inner monologue for Artie, apart from the fact that she's a bit of a handful, or the fact that she's like quicker and smarter than he is at the moment. And he just seems to completely resent her for some reason.
Yeah, we'll have to get into that later.
Yeah. So after Giselle agrees to not see Artie for fear of his life, Major West, he leaves. He goes to meet Lord Marshal Burr. The first time we meet Lord Marshal Burr, and I love this guy. This is a great general, at least from on the face of it. He's all about not giving a fuck about nobility, really, not giving a fuck about blue bloods. He talks about that they received 3 signs from the Northmen. And can anyone guess what those 3 signs were?
Who doesn't love?
No, nobody. That's great.
No takers? No takers?
What were you saying, George?
I was going to say, who doesn't love a nice decapitated head? I get one every morning,
Yeah, it's good motivation, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, a quote from a later book that severed heads never go out of style.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, if you sever head now, it's horrific. But it honestly would probably give you the same feeling if it was put on a stick in front of your lawn 100 years ago. It's not gonna. It's gonna piss everybody off.
We get this news that not only have the Northmen successfully invaded, they've actually taken down one of their most fearsome fortresses.
Right, the military stronghold, which is supposed to have some of the most advanced defenses, like that their most prominent architects worked on, if I'm not mistaken.
And I don't want to talk here about like the comparison to, say, a real world castle, because the garrison there, 300 people, is huge.
Yes.
Absolutely massive. I mean, real life castles might have like a regular garrison of maybe 50. And we're talking about some of the biggest castles in the world.
Yeah, because you don't need that many men to defend a castle.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got the advantage, you've got the walls, you don't need 300 men.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that they've managed to go through and just tear that apart without even a warning.
Well, here's the thing too, right? It's only been a few weeks since the Lord's Round, maybe a month at the most, and it took at least 2 weeks for those heads to get there, which means they're 2 weeks with, it's been, say, even at most, and we're talking 2 months tops, and they've already captured the most advanced fortress, and the Union's architecture is pretty advanced. I mean, what we'll see in a minute, they have a toilet at the very top of a huge tower that
Yeah,
functions.
yeah,
I mean, that's pretty impressive.
it
So,
is. It is.
and they've already lost it.
Hmm. To your point, George, the yeah, I understand. I see what you're saying with like 50 is what you would say a regular amount for a garrison. But the thing is, does that apply to a stronghold where you're holding what you could say, I don't want to say foreign territory because England is quote unquote
Like
Union
a
land,
frontier.
like a frontier. I think I would assume that if you're trying to maintain a grip on that, your garrison would be increased though.
The thing is that the whole point of a fortress is that it's somewhere that an army can sort of garrison and hang out for a while in order to
Right,
resupply.
before they go on the move. Right, right.
Exactly, and so you can't walk past the fortress and leave it behind you. So the whole thing with
Right.
fortresses is actually better to have a lower garrison because you can store more food for for less people.
Okay,
So
that
you've
makes
got a
sense.
longer chance of holding out in a prolonged siege.
Mhm, I get
Yeah.
okay, that makes
I
sense.
think I think what you're saying though, Jeff. In that since it is on a frontier and they do know that Bethod is coming into England, I do think you're right. They might have increased it that way. It was something that was harder for. I mean, 50 men could cause some havoc behind Bethod's lines, but at the same time though, they couldn't cause that much. You had 300 men there. It's going to be very difficult. But at the same time, George, you are right. It just shows how big the fortress is that it needed that had a garrison of 300 men, but
That could
also
mhm,
Jeff, you're right. I'm sure they probably increased the number to a certain degree because they knew Bethod was coming.
like you guys said, it seems like Bethod just took it, easy peasy lemon squeezy.
I mean, it's like you say, it's only been a couple of weeks, and as far
Mhm.
as we know, it's only been a couple of weeks since Fenris the Feared and White Eye Hansel did their whole display in front of the open council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe a few
yeah.
months. So we really get a glimpse into kind of Bethold's plan here, where he kind of knows that the Union isn't going to take him up on his offer of a duel.
He
Mhm.
was already ready. Yep.
He was already on the move.
Mhm. For sure. And sometimes it doesn't seem like it's clear as to like the passage of time. Do you know what I mean? From like when Fenris and White Eye and Hansel were doing their whole little let's just say show and tell. We don't know how much time really passed, but it can't have been more than what, a month or two, if you think about it.
So,
It can't have been like half a year. It couldn't have been like 6 months. I don't think so.
well, it's about this time that it's about summertime, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hot as shit.
And the book starts in springtime. So, and it's,
Mm,
it's super
okay.
hot, and
Okay.
we go through, and then summer is ending when the book is over. So you're right, it's hard to tell exact time, but it is, it couldn't have been more than, because a lot of time has already passed. So George is right, it couldn't have been that many more weeks, at most 2 months.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. I like right here, Lord Marshal Burr at some point he makes a comment, which is it intrigues me, I guess you could say, or like it relates to, I guess you could say, modern times. He says, "Government by committee, everyone pulling their own way. You can only react, never prepare." And it's like, hmm, he
Not
has
at
a
all like
point.
real life.
Yeah, right. Like here's the thing, he has a point, but then the other way around is just very, I don't know what's the word, dictatorship-ish.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it is.
it's
It is
like it's
very
tough.
much like a. Go ahead, Jeff.
No, no, I was just saying it's tough. Like, sure you want to be able to prepare and be proactive instead of reactive, but freedoms and liberties and things. I don't know.
Not like the Union really cares about freedoms and
Nah,
liberties,
they
at
don't.
least
That's the
not for
thing.
the regular people.
Right, definitely not.
But
Harrison, you were gonna say?
I was just gonna say, and it is very much just to kind of show that he comes from a military standpoint, right? Where he says what needs to happen and it happens. And so it's, of course, in his mind, he's like, oh, see, this is never going to work. The government's run by a committee. Everyone's pulling their own way. He's not thinking about the consequences of some one man having power, because in his mind, he's loyal to the Union. So it makes sense that he would say that.
but I do like what you were saying earlier as well, Jeff. That the Lord Marshal Byrd does seem to be a very he's a forward thinker. He's actually a logical and he's a good military leader. He even says here, like, I'm being called defeatist because I'm just taking it seriously. I'm saying everybody needs to get their asses together now so that we can combat this. And
Right.
everyone's just going, no, don't be silly.
Yeah. Yeah. He's
It's
the
just a whole
only.
bunch of savages. Not a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah,
Exactly,
and he says it. He's like, I fought with northern mercenaries in Starkland. They would make the Gurkish blush. What, like, the idiots aren't, like, they're not listening to him. So I could
Yeah.
definitely see the frustration with the idea of government by committee. It's just, I think it's funny that, which I guess you could see this in play and nowadays with a lot of like war hawks in the military
Mhm.
leadership in different countries and everything. They think about military goals, but not political consequences.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah. It's always
Yeah.
short-term tactical
Right.
choices and not long-term strategy.
Yeah, exactly right.
I mean, as a fan of military history, I'm like, you guys kind of aren't seeing the whole picture. But then again, like, if like one of us was put in that position, I mean, would we act differently? Like, I don't know if I would be any more different than Burr.
Right. And I mean, the Union gets a lot of crap for not taking situations seriously. They didn't take the Northmen seriously, but like he says here, they don't have any. They have a lack of officers. A lot of the officers retired or they moved up
Yeah,
since
after the
last
Gurkish War. Yeah.
and because, as you know, wars get more and more terrible as time goes on, and so they all quit basically, and so you have all these people who are in charge who have no idea what a war is actually like, and they've grown up in the Union at its height of power, and they're not worried about anything. I mean, I can't really blame the people for thinking that it's not going to be a big deal. The Union's never been beaten before.
Right, as far as they know. George, were you going to say
We're
something?
always saying, I'm pretty sure it's in this chapter as well, where they're saying even the war with the Gurkish, who, like you said, would make the Northmen would make the Gurkish blush, it still nearly bankrupted them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, even though it's taken as a victory, and I'm sure this can be sort of attributed to or a parallel to the way that the Western countries behaved after World War II, we can't be beaten. We're just going to roll over everything because we won. And that was the attitude of a lot of people, even up to this day, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Very
Especially
true.
in America.
Very true. I do like Burr in a way kind of acts as an exposition vehicle here. Not too much so, because he talks about like Uthman ul-Dost, the Gurkish emperor, because like he's worried about him too. But we already kind of get some of that from Pharaoh in the previous chapter. But like he talks about what you just said, George, where or no, Harrison, where you talked about the officers retiring from the last war, and then he fucking loses his shit. He's like, oh, and now the prince wants to be a part of this army. And then Wes is like, this is how much of a fucking like a nincompoop Ladisla is, that Wes doesn't even think of him. He asks, oh, Reynaud, and he's like, no, I wish it was him, but this fucking Captain Luther guy, it wants to be a fucking commander, apparently.
Oh, yeah. And obviously, we know that Ladislau is just absolutely useless. But because he's a spoilt brat and he's the heir to the throne, he can do whatever he fucking wants. So even though it's probably a really bad idea, that's what's happening going forward. This guy's going to be in charge in some.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be so much fun, isn't it? Yeah, and then
And he,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, and and then Burr basically kind of as an exposition, he gives some numbers, which we actually, it's been really, I've been looking forward to this because we actually get some army size numbers, and it actually matches up with the sizes later on in the series. So he says that there are going to be 12 regiments, 7 of foot, 5 of horse, and that's approximately doing the math a little bit and matching it up also with what they say later on in the series. That's about 24 to 25,000 of the King's Own, which
are the elite soldiers.
Yes, it's just their elite soldiers, and then they say also that 75%, most of their army is made up of levies. So that means you got like 75,000 or so levies going, which does match up with them being about 5 times the size. When they land in England, they're about 5 times the size of Bethod's army, which we already know is 20,000 Northmen. So it's just interesting to see how much bigger, which is why West even says, "Oh, that's an overwhelming force." And Bird's like, "Yeah, but the noblemen are pissed off because of the Mercer business, so they're sending us shit levies, and I don't have experienced officers, and the North is not like Staricland or the Union or Midderland, and he's super worried. And I just those numbers there are pretty crazy to see how many people are
Exactly. I
actually
mean,
going to be going to this.
trying to maneuver, your division, which, if we're going by the numbers here, divide by 3, between 10 and 12,000 men, maneuvering them through forests, dense forests, ancient
Oh,
woodland, rivers, and you
the
just don't know what's out
Mountains.
there because you don't have any maps. It just
right,
falls apart straight away.
right. The logistics must be a fucking nightmare in
Which
that
is
scenario.
one thing that Burr has clearly not considered, because even though he does seem quite competent in the first half of this chapter, he then goes on and completely dismisses a lot of what West is saying. He's like, so the land, and he's like, yeah, in that region, but I've not been back. And he's like, and then immediately interrupts him. Do you know the Northmen? It's like, yeah, but and you speak the tongue. And he's like, yeah, a little, but they speak. He's like, oh well, it doesn't matter. Let's go. And it's like, oh, okay, fuck it up.
Well, I will say, I think just Burr is so desperate to have competent
Officers. Yeah.
officers under his command, like his direct staff. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if that's a failure as a general. I don't know if that's what you're saying either, but do you know? I think that's just
Not
he's
necessarily
just
a
grasping
failure.
at straws. Do you know?
Exactly, and because he can't be blamed for that. He's doing the best he can with what he
Right.
has,
Which is shite.
and it is better than a lot of people because he's delegating to somebody who, even though it probably isn't socially acceptable to promote a commoner to a higher rank, so that they can be in charge of somebody that is probably their social greater, as so to speak. But it's the right choice to do that anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Which I do like here, where Wes is like, guys. I mean, not guys. He's like, Burr, Lord Marshal Burr. I won't like these people. They won't permit it. And then Burr's just like, they won't
Fuck 'em.
permit it.
Fuck him. Yeah.
What? He is tight. He's like, man, I don't give a fuck what they think or what they want. They're gonna listen to you, or I will take a shit in their breakfast. Which is like,
Yeah.
right? Like, this is the first chapter we get to meet Lord Marshal Burr, and he's one of the few. I don't want to say few. I'll say few. One of the few first law characters that we get immediately like. It's endearing, like his qualities so far. He's understandably frustrated with the state of affairs going into this war with the North, and he's trying to promote someone that isn't, like, regardless of his upbringing or his ancestral history, blah blah blah. It's like, you've done great, you get to be promoted. If only real life was like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think as well, we see later on in the series as well. This isn't really spoiler territory, but they mention how some of the generals are mentioning how they have to listen to orders from people from the provinces, implying that Burr is also from the provinces. Which makes sense that he's from Staricland. He came up, and that explains why he's more sympathetic to West, because West is from the provinces, and so they're kind of both outcasts, and they both had to work their way up on merit. Burr just has been inside of he dealt with probably a rebellion in Staricland, and so it makes sense that he's backing him up here, because he's like, I worked my way up, I'm gonna help this guy work his way up. We don't need these fucking noblemen, it's all bullshit anyway. So,
And I like how ingrained this sort of commoner nobleman thing is in the society, because even West himself can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like he's not like, oh, I've worked hard, so I deserve to be here. He's like, me?
Yeah. But this is what he's been working for, though. Like, he's looking at a terrible situation as an opportunity, though.
But that's what I mean. Like, he's been working towards it, and he's obviously very, very conscious about his appearance and the way he comes on to the people, and being authoritative and having this reputation.
Yeah.
But he still can't believe it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So he's put in all the work. and he like just by merit alone he should be there, but he's just like, oh, I'm actually,
Yeah.
I'm here. Oh, cool, thanks.
And as
Huh.
we all will learn at some point in our lives, getting what you want the most is not always a good thing.
Yeah, sometimes.
No.
Oh, Mr. West. Oh, it's gonna be a fun ride for him. All right, so what would you guys rate that chapter?
I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 9 fingers. I really like this introduction to the more war side of it. And it's like we were saying in the last episode, Harrison, we're getting a lot more fleshed out or more fleshing out of the world.
Yeah, we're done with the introductions now, bitch.
It
Well,
certainly goes uphill from here.
Right. Well, we did get to, be introduced to Lord Marshal Burr. Just saying. Let's not forget him.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with a 5 out of 9. Because I mean it's a good chapter as always, and I do like how it expands it. We get to see some hard numbers, which we don't get to see very often in the first law. It's always it's more ambiguous on locations and time and numbers, which is fine. But we get to see that Burr is a pretty interesting character. And I like to see how we see West's perspective. We finally get some more development on him. He opens that box with the head in it, and he basically reminds him of he gets some PTSD reminding him of Oriok. And I like that. But at the same time, it's not a very big chapter, and it's a lot of exposition, which is fine. I mean, I'm happy with it, but not a lot of is actually happening. So that's where I'm gonna place that for me.
That's a good one. It's funny. I'm actually gonna split the difference between you two. 5 and a knuckle for me.
Hey.
No, I mean, honestly, for the reasons that the both of you have said, I do like the chapter because I love the exposition, the talking about, like you said, the numbers, so we could get more concrete data as to like how the union is set up and everything. But at the same time, and it's great that like West got promoted. We get to meet Burr, but it just moved from West getting spanked by Giselle, apparently sparring, to him being promoted. So it was like, all right, so there was some exposition, but not much has really moved forward in terms of plot. So that's why I'm giving it a 5 and a knuckle out of 9 fingers. You guys like that?
It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah. So Harrison should make,
You was like,
Harrison should make you
I
feel.
like it.
Harrison, you should feel better just because this way there's no chance of you being the ultimate contrarian this episode.
But I thought I was different. I thought I was special.
You are.
Everyone's special.
Pat Ted.
Everyone's special.
Everyone's special. You get a trophy. Anyway, so now we'll move on to our next segment, which is Question of the Week. We're trying to keep this reoccurring, ladies and gentlemen. So, who has the question? I forget. Harrison, is that you or is that George?
Go ahead, George.
If you want to do it, Harrison, you absolutely.
No. You go ahead, George. You go ahead.
So this is an earlier one as well. It's from a week or two ago when we first posted our reaching out and asking what you guys want, and we have user Red's Hat's mum, which is great name.
I love that.
I love how many of these people just have first law themed names as well. It's great.
I mean, mine is First Law Boy.
Yeah, yours is First Law Boy. Mine's some generic ass Reddit name.
Yeah, I just use the auto generator.
Yeah. And now I feel like an idiot.
So Red Hat's mum asks us, what the fuck is Baez's real name?
Ooh.
Well,
I like this because we don't ever find out, and he never hints to having another name. But I do find it interesting that, and we'll find out a bit about this later, so it's not that much of a spoiler. So we know that Baez is the first letter of the old tongue.
Oh, of the alphabet, right.
Of the alphabet and the old tongue. That's the one. So
also, that's a weird letter to have,
That's a long letter.
You're like Baez, B, C, E, F, G.
Go ahead, George. You were saying.
Oh, I like it. But it is interesting to have a look and see, because we know that Baez probably comes, after the old time-ish. We don't know for sure.
Well, the old tongue is the old empire's tongue.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
that makes
really?
sense.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
I assumed
Yeah.
it was before time. We're not going to talk about it, but
Yeah, right. Oh, okay, okay.
Well, because they always refer to the old time. So there is the old time, which is during the old empire's reign of power, and then there is before the old time.
Why did I
So
think
the old tongue is imperial, into the imperial tongue or whatever.
I thought the old tongue was related to like not I don't know how to speak like demon talk.
No,
Because the Dash Juvens kind of
they're from
Canadian.
before the old time. And your Ayus, before
Yeah,
even
but
the old times, Ayus closed the portals, and then Juven found those people. It's basically the time period from the portal. Well, whatever. We don't know if it's portals or not.
Right,
From
right.
the other side being shut off, up through the the shit
The
that happens
thing.
that we'll learn later on.
Yeah,
Basically, the fall of the old empire up to that point is considered the old time.
Okay.
And then if it's
Alright.
before that point with demons, it's before the old time.
Okay.
Okay. So
Okay.
my thoughts being that, does Baez take his name from the alphabet of the old tongue, or is it that it's the first letter because that's his name?
Mm. I had it.
We're like,
I don't know either.
Yeah. Listen, I'll be honest with you guys right now. The way Baez acts, like if he had a name prior to being, called Baez, I was just gonna call him Frank. I thought his name would be Frank.
You got like a generic name. Well,
Yeah, he just comes off as a Frank. You know
so
what
it
I
could
mean?
be Master Juvens, right? It could be that his Master Juvens renamed all of his.
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. In terms of what his real name is, well, the Baez is his real name. It's what was his name before? You're right, Jeff. It probably was something generic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I think it's a fucking Frank. I swear to God, like a Archie Bunker motherfucker.
But it's got to be like a fantasy name, isn't it? So it's like Frankus Mai or something.
Oh, right, right. No, you're right. So he's got to be Franok, whatever the fuck. Like Christ.
Or instead of Billy, it's Billy.
Bleh.
Because here's the thing that we see, we've seen Yulwei, right? Not a big spoiler here, but honestly, whenever he meets Yulwei and possibly some other people, they know him as Baez, and they've known him quite a long time.
Right.
I feel like somebody would call him differently, even a certain character who is antagonistic towards Baez in the future calls him Baez. So if his name was something different before, it must have been changed not by him. Otherwise, people who hate him would have called him differently.
Right. It must have been done by Juvens.
Yeah, I'm thinking that as well.
That's what I thought. I had the idea that Juvens, the more first-time readers, the more you get into it, you'll learn. And I don't think this is too spoilery to say that Juvens had a certain way, a vision how the world should be, if I'm not mistaken. If you guys would,
yes, he did.
Yeah.
And
so
one doesn't mesh with the way that the world really is.
Actually,
right,
yeah.
Exactly. And so for him to take people under his wing, Magi, to create the Great Order of Magi, I think he would want them to start fresh. Let's give him a name with some panache.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
what do you think, George? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. He's, there's definitely a certain change from when you're just a regular person, because he must have been a regular person at some point.
Yeah,
he had
kind of that. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. To being this immortal wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, not immortal, but long-lived wizard.
Yeah. Dude's been drinking the red wine and those veggie smoothies. Apparently, Jesus Christ. Well, I'm going with Frank or Franok as his original name. What about you guys?
I'm just gonna say it's probably always been Baez.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Well, what it's like if a tree falls in the forest, no one hears it. That kind of thing. As far as we can tell, the only name that matters is Baez.
The all-encompassing Baez.
So,
all right, I guess.
But thank you for the question.
Yeah, thanks.
Excellent, and thank you for that, because that was a really interesting one. I never would have thought to talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I
thank
honestly
you, Red Hat's mum.
thank you,
We-
Red Hat Mom. Thank you.
And we can't wait to meet you, Red Hat.
Mhm.
We'll let your mom know we said hi.
Tell her we said hey. So, all right. So now we'll go on to our second chapter read through, and this one's the Theatrical Outfitters. I really like this chapter, but so basically the summary is we come on Baez, Logan, and Kwai. They finally have made their arrival at Adjua. They're I guess they came via ship voyage, sea voyage, and they're at the docks. And Logan is just straight from here to the end of this chapter, and probably for like 3 chapters. Logan is just straight up confused. He's bewildered. He's just like, how? What? There's this many people in this giant of a place with this many buildings that are this tall. What the fuck is going on? He's just dumbfounded at the sheer size of everything.
I mean,
The-
this is like one
sort
of those
of-
rare chapters where we actually just have description the whole time pretty much
Oh, yeah,
up until the
yeah.
end.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
so, this chapter goes by pretty quick, but the main takeaway is that, Logan is from the north where, what, maybe at most 2 million people live, and that's being generous across a huge vast area of nothingness. And he has not even seen that many people one place to seeing hundreds of thousands of people all within a couple square miles.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's he's like, Bethod means to make war on this? This motherfucker is crazy. But, Baez does point out something well. He's that, like, for all his pride and all that, he understands that the Union, the people here are very jealous of one another. They're always like backstabbing. They may be in union in name, but they fight each other tooth and nail. The great
Exactly.
wage war in secret over power and wealth, right?
And I love that monologue because it's the first time we really have it like spelt out in words. Obviously, we have
Mm-hmm.
glimpses of how incompetent people are. We've just had Burr talking about democracy, government
Mhm.
by committee, and everyone's put in different ways. But this is the first time
Mhm.
someone's really just sat down and said, these people are not really running the place that well. This
Right.
is just a big
and-
game of I want to get on top.
right. And this is coming from, a person of note, of importance.
Someone at least at this point in the story that we trust.
Somebody
Right.
that knows how the Union functions.
So yeah, so then Logan, I don't even explain. He's seeing ships of sizes that he's never even like thought of. He's seeing countless hordes of humans just going back and forth, back and forth. He feel like, when Baez talks about, when he asked Baez how many people live here, Baez was like thousands, hundreds of thousands. And he says from this place, from that place, Northmen, Kantiks from Gurkle and other people from Gurkle, the Old Empire, the West, the Styrians, blah, blah, blah. Logan's just like, how can there be that many people in the entire world, let alone this one city?
Yeah, exactly. Because
Yeah.
obviously, like you were saying earlier, like Logan's from the north where it's very sparse. People probably
Mhm.
only live in 1 or 2 cities, and when it's very generous to call them cities.
Right.
Yeah.
Villages
And
is
just
more
to
probably, yeah.
suddenly be in this very, not quite industrial, but very organized society. It must be
Yeah.
such a culture shock, and culture shock is a very real thing.
Oh, for sure.
And to be clear too, there was one time that somebody had said that like, well, Logan just basically stated that there aren't that many people in the north, and I'm like, well, Logan's perspective on life is much smaller. It's one man, he hasn't seen this many people in one place, but that's hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, there's more than 100,000 people in the north. Otherwise, there wouldn't be 20,000 soldiers marching to war.
Right.
Exactly.
Who said that? You said there
Oh,
was
it was just a guy on Reddit and a while
Oh,
back.
okay.
But
Oh, back
If
then.
you're listening, guy on Reddit, that proves you wrong, doesn't it?
hey, the guy was very receptive. I said that to him on the Reddit thing too, and he was like, "Oh, that's a good point. I didn't think about that." So
Oh,
sorry,
okay.
we're not trying to burn you, man.
Guy on Reddit, you have earned our forgiveness. So yeah, Logan's view of the world population is obviously we could say
Limited.
limited for sure. And then he says only in battle had he ever felt so squashed, which is so. This is like one of the first time you get like a realistic. One of the first times you get like a realistic depiction of what it's like to be in battle, because in movies or whatever kind of work of art you have, it's always people go their own separate ways and they have individual battles, and there's choreographed. Why can't I say this? Choreographed fights that just seem to befuddle the mind, but in reality, it's everyone's just squashed together, and you're most likely dying from being stomped on rather than actually someone doing a John Wick move on you. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And you won't find any of that in this series.
No, I love that part too. In real life, like you said, Jeff, everyone's getting squished. More people, most armies didn't get completely annihilated. It was always people ran away because, I mean, if you had the opportunity to, fuck that, man.
Yeah, you're out. You route yourself, right, for sure. Yeah. The annihilation doesn't come until we developed guns and bombs and nuclear things and stuff like that.
All that good stuff.
All that great stuff that has benefited us as a civilization. Sometimes I
just love how we get a real sense of how confused and disorientated Logan is. Like, the feeling of being in battle and just absolutely not being able to think of anything, not being able to breathe properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You could say he's almost having a panic attack at one point where he's like, Malicus, can you just stop fucking walking? Like, yeah. I understand that, though. Like, I get it. Like, we've all been there, right? I would say
it's easy to feel like that in a crowd if you're in the wrong sort of frame of mind, especially.
Well, if you think about it too, he mentions this like battle, right? And as we see, Logan doesn't get frozen up like a lot of men do, but he doesn't fucking like it. This reminds him of battle. This reminds him of death, and his fucking adrenaline's pumping just from being in this crowd of people. That's the only thing he has to associate with it is war, and so I think it's very realistic that the only thing he has to associate with it is death. So he just starts freaking out a little bit because he doesn't know what to do. He wants to probably kill everybody, but only not because he actually wants to. It's just as a reaction.
Oh, right. Absolutely. That's what I mean. It's just it kind of makes you relate to Logan a little bit more here.
Yes.
But, we know this is a really tough man. He's been through a lot and he's fought his way through a lot, and now he's just standing in a crowd of people that don't actually care about him, and he's shitting himself.
Right. Because like I said, yeah, go ahead, George. Finish that thought.
No, that's it.
I was just gonna say we've all been there. Like for me, it's always when I'm at a club, which I haven't been to in a couple of years, or like at a parade. Whenever I'm hemmed in, if I can't get the fuck away, I'm gonna snap. So I imagine you guys have been through similar situations, and we can relate to Logan in that way. I mean, obviously, I don't know if you guys have been to war. I mean, if you have, George or Harrison, thank you for your service. But
no, we haven't.
In all seriousness, we here at the Circle of the World podcast do thank you all for your service, you veterans. Go ahead, Harrison. I felt like you were gonna say something.
No, I was just gonna. I wasn't trying to rush you guys or anything. I was just gonna continue on. They get to
please do.
They get to the Agriant, and this is where Baez has his line: "The city within the city." And the style here, when they finally get here, it's a little bit different. There's a little more space. People are dressed up in almost like Victorian style. They have fans. They're wearing these big fluffy dresses. The men are always dressed nice. The lawns are cut. It's not like a normal bustling city. It's like, this is like Victorian England now.
Right. This is when we get to the middle way. Like can you explain what the middle way is to our first time readers?
Yeah, I think we explained it before, but basically it's the main thoroughfare through the city. It's a huge wide street. It has multiple different areas on it. The Square of Marshals. It's got the Kingsway, which is attached to the middle way, and it's got the one with all the statues on it. But it's basically a huge big alleyway. Well, not alleyway. It's a big road that is much bigger than the rest. And it goes straight all the way from the city. I imagine if you had like a big overview of Adua, you would be able to distinctly see the middle way being probably 4 times as big as a normal street going all the way down outside the city.
Okay, nice description. Thank you for that, Harrison. I like that. I like
Yeah.
that. And we come on the middle way, like you said, and then Logan bumps into a homeless woman. Right before we get to that, I want to just talk about like, so do you guys get the sense that Adua, just the way it's set up, isn't it more like, you could say it's like the New York or a London, especially for a newcomer like Logan. Just especially if we put it in modern terms, we could say Logan's the.
I would even go. Probably it's closer to Rome in terms of like architecture and things like that. Especially the big central avenue. It's very reminiscent of the Causeway in Rome that they have these big parades on.
Right. I was trying to go for a modern analogy, but I like that one better. Thank you, George.
Maybe like something like Paris or something. The middle way is like that.
Oh yeah, you're right. Paris is like the place. You're right. That's a good one.
A big sprawling city, and then there's these big open thoroughfares full of this grand architecture and this stuff.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out, like, just Logan being like a doe-eyed newcomer. It's just
basically it's like somebody who grew up in I don't know, the fucking Antarctica or Canada
or
Canada
Idaho,
is probably the best way.
Yeah.
Canada, a northern cold place where you maybe go to a small village to go to work or something,
and the first place you see is fucking New York or something.
Yeah.
Or Paris.
Yeah.
That's definitely some shock right there. So sorry about that little aside there, but yeah, so Logan runs into a homeless lady with the child, and he's like, I don't have anything to give you, and then he looks, and there's a couple people a few feet away just having a delicious steaming meal.
He just looks at the plate of food and then looks at her and goes,
He's like, what the fuck? But it's I have a note here. It's just like, the homelessness or the class disparity. But at the same time, I've been there. Like, personally speaking, I've been there where, like, if I have like change or a couple dollars in my pocket, I'll give it to a homeless person or a person that comes and like asks for it. But then if I don't have anything, for some reason, I feel behooved to look at other people like, why isn't no one else helping him?
Yeah.
Because I can't help him. Does that make sense? And like, I really could if I wanted to like take this person to a restaurant or something. But for some, like, it's like, if you don't have the
if it's not not to go after you, Jeff, or anybody else too. I totally know what you mean, but like,
do you understand?
It's almost like it's a depressing convenience thing too.
Yeah.
You look up, you don't have money on you. You're like, well, this is inconvenient for me. Was anybody else? And it's not about like you being lazy. It's just like, I don't have time. I have things to do. Is anybody else going to be able to help him? Like, hello?
Exactly. It's this. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. It's this weird thing where it's like, if we're not able to help right then and there, then like the onus for some reason is on somebody else, and how dare they not be able to help or not willing to help?
Yeah,
it's weird. This is weird. I was like, I don't know if Joe meant to write it that way, but that's how I read it, and I was like, son of a bitch. I get it.
Definitely. And obviously, I like how we get a little glimpse at Baez's ruthlessness here. When like, sort of like, shouldn't we help this person? It's like, they're everywhere, And
then like, fucking whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And he's like, the king has to squeeze the nobles, and the nobles squeeze the tenants, and the tenants squeeze the peasants, and then just some of them get squeezed out the bottom, and that's just the way it is.
Hey, he's like, the lucky ones are thieves or whores. I'm like, Jesus Christ, Baez. Where's the feel goodness when we need it? Good Lord. He just grabs Logan. He's like, come on, you fucking idiot.
And then they move on, and then they finally get to where Baez is trying to go, and it's basically a costume store.
Yes, the Theatrical outfitters. Oh,
before we get to that,
go ahead,
because they run into a group of soldiers.
Oh yes,
exactly what I was going to say. Thank you.
Logan mistakes them for pennant people, so like law breakers, criminals, and he's just like, no, those are the soldiers, and he's like, What the fuck?
He's like, Jesus Christ, the Union's fucked.
Yeah,
He's like,
exactly.
oh, you're fighting Bethod with this? Oh, it's a wrap. No wonder he thought he could go to war with you guys.
And then he sees the King's Own, like they're training, and he's like, he mentions, it's impressive that they're disciplined, and but
Oh, that's
then,
later. That's not this chapter.
oh shit.
No shit. Oh.
Oh God, what have I done?
Because I understand why. Because he literally, after he sees those people that they look like the lady that just begged him for food, basically. Baez points out, no, those people are soldiers too. And Logan looks, and they're just like, I think George, you pointed out earlier that they're just, or Harrison, somebody was like, they're just young kids, and they're just dressed all dandy and gaudy. And he's like, what did he say? He said they look like fighting women. It shouldn't be as funny as it is, but it is, and I apologize, dear listener. I apologize. But we know what Logan means in this point in time in this fictional universe. Let's not forget, fictional universe. But yeah, that's what I think what you were trying to point out, Harrison,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, good, George. Good on that, man. I was gonna point that out too, man. Good on you, man.
And then we get to, like, say, the shop with the costumes in it.
Oh, you guys take this. This is great.
And I think it's Logan's just absolutely shocked that something like this can actually exist. Where he comes from, it's probably just, there's a guy that sells meat over there, and there's a guy that sells skin over there, and
And you make your own fucking clothes.
and you make your own
Right.
sticks, and that's it. And it's like, wait, so these guys make fake weapons?
Well,
And
he's like, who the
clothes.
fuck has time for that?
Clothes, and clothes for what? And he's like, we just tell stories over the campfire. What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
He's like, and they're real stories. So basically, yeah, they go into the shop, and the shop is they make outfits for plays and theaters, and Baez basically wants to look the part for this play he's been planning.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And he says he hasn't figured out like the end of it yet, but I mean, it doesn't take much of a keen eye. Whenever I first read this too, I was like, he's talking kind of funny.
Yeah.
He's got something planned. He's very clear he has something planned.
Well, you can
And
tell.
I
He's...
like.
Go ahead, George.
So I was going to say, I love this little line that and it comes back to something I said in one of the first episodes, that Joe's world building is all in the actual world itself. So when the shopkeeper asks him what they're doing, he's like, oh, it's it's a historical piece, it's about Juvens, and he's like, oh yeah, this was used in Juvens and the end of the Empire, which is obviously something that we learn about later, but it's already in the world, which is a fantastic bit of writing there.
Right, it's part of their history.
Yeah, that's what makes him such a good writer. He intertwines that within the character's dialogue. I like that a lot. Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I like that. For some reason, I don't know why. I know it's only like what 2-3 pages. I really like this scene in the Theatrical Outfitters because it reminds me of, for some reason, like it's almost akin to like Hollywood depictions of cultures and stuff. Like, for example, have you guys noticed that any movie that is either set or there's a scene set in Mexico is fucking yellow? It's just tinted yellow.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
It's kind of like what we've already seen a little bit of, right? Whenever Logan sees what he thought was Baez, and he's like, oh, this majestic old man with a big beard. Even his perceptions are messed up from hearing stories and whatnot. And so we get more of that subversion here.
Exactly. That's what I'm loving here, though, because it's not. I don't know how to explain it. It's not subversion just for the sake of subversion. There's subversion almost like with a point to it, and I just really like it because it makes me think like, oh yeah, it's like doing the thing with Mexico or making Italy constantly. How do I explain? What will Italy always be like? Just orange and blue, right? Venice.
Yeah.
Or England gray. But wait, England is actually gray. I'm kidding, George. I'm kidding.
I think it's kind of like whenever you watch a movie it's like when you watch The Boys or something, where you're watching something or something that's making fun of how our world functions. It's like it's meta, right? It's in the universe meta. That's what they're doing here, and that's where it works because it's not like a parody. It's basically pointing out how, look, even inside of this world, it makes it feel more like what you were saying, George. It's built into the actual world itself, And since Baez knows what's actually going on, and Logan's actually a Northman, it's like ironic and funny and a little offensive that this is what they think things are actually like, because they actually do, even though it's all made up.
Yes, but that's exactly that. Like when Logan sees the old man, it's like that's a reasonable thing, the old wise-looking man, not the guy that with the apron and the butcher's hat on, you know. Whereas
Yeah.
this is like it's absolutely ridiculous. It's just these shiny clothes and this massive staff with a crystal on it. Oh, it doesn't say that, but that's what I imagine. And it's just like you say, Jeff. It's just a stereotype of another thing that we don't fully understand.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting. And then I do like this little line at the end because I like the last lines in these. And I really does think this is another nod from Joe to us as sort of a fourth wall breaking. And he says, so a political piece, a biting satire, perhaps? Will it be comic or dramatic in tone? And Byers just goes, that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such good writing here. Like that line, I mean, like, you can tell that it's foreshadowing, but like knowing the whole story, it's just so good. That line is
It really
amazing.
is. Yeah, for sure. Love it. And I also real
And it
quick, I
fits
just
into
want-
his character too.
It does. It does. Because with Baez, we'll learn that he always has, you could say, a plan, but he allows, I guess you could say, he allows room for adjustments. Let's say, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So, what would you
and-
rate that chapter, Harrison?
Man, I mean, I think I hate to do it to give it the same rating, but I think I gave it a 5 again. I think it's written really well. It's very endearing towards Logan. We get some really good, like, subtle Baez lines. There's some really good lines on, like, society as a whole that, everybody kind of knows, but it's interesting to see it put into paper. It kind of makes you feel humbled and a little bad. It makes you feel a lot of different things, but at the same time, a lot of it's just exposition. They go there, they get their outfits, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
Very average chapter.
Okay.
Well, I think.
Go ahead, George.
I think I'd give this one a 5 out of 9 as well. Maybe a 5 and a knuckle. Because I do like this different side that we get to see of Adua. I mean, so far we've only really seen from Giselle, Gloctor's, and West's perspectives, and they're obviously, they're all in the higher tier of society, so they're only really operating inside the Agrion.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to see how the normal person lives here.
Mm. Right, because they're up on the social strata, you could say.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would give this a 6 out of 9. So I'm like,
Who's the contrarian now?
I am the contrarian. I am so sorry, guys. So sorry. No, just because I don't know what it is. It's like the first half of this chapter, it was like, okay, Logan's like, he's having a panic attack. Ooh. I'm just kidding around,
Yeah.
but then, like, they start walking through and the roads clear up. Maybe I resonated, maybe because I know what it feels like to be like hemmed in like that I kind of shied away from liking the beginning of this chapter too much, because the more I think about it, I'm like, oh, maybe that's what it is. But I know for sure, like, the latter half, I really picked up on my interest in the chapter, or at least what I really find myself invested in. And for some reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I'm a short little fucker and I'm an aspiring actor, and I know it's never gonna work for me. But something about them being in the theatrical outfitters shop, it's cool because, like, Logan's just like, wait a minute, this is what you think a Northman would wear? What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that whole thing with what is it? Fit for a prince, and he's like, the chainmail is useless. The fur is useless. Like, it's just all useless.
Absolutely. And I think you were right as well when it comes to movies, especially when it comes to like historical and fantasy stuff. The costumes are just so ridiculous.
Over the
Like,
top.
this guy's
Over
wearing,
the
like,
top.
half a raw bear skin with the face still on it, and he's like, "Oh yeah, that doesn't do anything."
Yeah, right.
It
What the
doesn't
fuck
keep
does that
you
do?
warm. It just looks cool, and that's the only reason why they put it in. Which is how I love everybody. There is no like they don't linger on costumes. Joe doesn't. It's
No.
just this guy is wearing a coat. Like,
Right.
Yeah, a long coat.
yeah,
Yeah, he's wearing a leather jerkin. Now move the fuck on.
yeah.
Right, which is why. But it's funny. He doesn't linger in costumes, but the fact that he describes the costumes that they're looking at
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
it means it's to play them up, or at least, well, we'll see. But because I don't. Oh yeah, no, he does say it. He says they can't get to the Agrion, right, unless they play to their station.
Right.
Right.
They've got to make a disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Almost.
A disguise in front of your faces.
Yeah.
Whoa! It's like, all right. The union, like, you know what? Like, as a reader, you're like, can they really be this goofy? But then you're like, well, you know what? It's the same way nowadays. So
It is true. I mean, you wouldn't walk into your new job in an office and just, like a higher tier office as, on Wall Street or something, and just wear your regular clothes. No, you're going to wear a suit like everyone else does.
Right.
So it's, they're trying to fit in. If I imagine if Baez and Malicus and Logan kind of rocked up to the gate to the Agrion, and it's just they're all wearing coats and boots, and they're just like, I'm Baez, the first of the major, and they're like, what the fuck?
hey, get the fuck out of here.
But people
we got nothing for you. What were you saying, George?
Saying people believe what they see.
Exactly.
If they don't know how to question it, anyway.
No, I like that. That's good. All right. Well, we did our ratings. So next segment will be best meme of the week. And I know for a fact that's you, George. Go ahead.
All right. Okay. So we've got, and by the way, guys, if you are reading along with us and you don't want spoilers, do not click on these links because
yeah,
it will ruin the whole thing
it's
for you.
Spoiler suicide.
Yeah. So this meme of the week comes from user on Reddit East_permission9134, and that will be in the link in the description on all of our platforms if you want to go check that out.
Okay, that's a nice one. I know which meme you're talking about this time, actually, and I like that one. That's a great one.
That gave us
Why?
A good chuckle.
Yeah. Why, Joe? Why? All right. So then our third and final chapter read through for this episode is Barbarians at the Gate. And this one, man, this is another good one. It's hilarious. It's so good. So we come upon Giselle, he's making his circuit around the Agrion, right? He's doing his running. He's putting in the work. Our boy Giselle's putting in the work finally. And he's making a circuit, and
by the way, he's running 6 minutes a mile, which is pretty fucking fast.
Wait, hold the fuck
that
on.
is pretty
wait.
fast.
Which people can do, it's a testament to his
Yeah, no, dude, I know. As a timekeeper, I know it's 6 minutes a mile is a good time. But where the fuck do you see that? I don't see that.
He's figured it out, hasn't he? You figured it out, haven't you, Harrison?
Well, remember, guys, the circuit of the Agrion is 10 miles.
All right.
Oh, and he does an hour-long circuit?
He does an hour-long circuit, yeah.
Harrison? I got to clap for you,
This is what you pay me for. Now, wait a minute.
This is what I pay you for. Don't look at the paycheck. Don't look at the paycheck. Okay. Got it. Okay. Wow. So he's killing it then. 6 minute mile. That's
shows
great.
It also plays along with he beat West. He's improved a lot. He's in really good shape. He stopped drinking.
Yeah.
So
he would definitely. Yeah, he would definitely place in his age group, I would say. Yep. Okay.
He's running along.
You guys are like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about, Harrison? How do you know that?
Yeah, I was just like, what?
No, I trusted you straight away.
Yeah, George, you got to be a little bit more skeptical, man.
No, he knows what he's doing, Jeff. He knows what he's doing. You've got to delegate. You've got to delegate. Right?
I have to learn that skill. I have to. I'm sorry.
Oh, shit.
I just want to make this one point real quick. The fact that he's making this circuit around the Agrion, his 6 minute mile journey, is he can't help but keep like Artie's just on his mind, and Artie in all these different fantastical scenarios, which is
This is
hilarious
so
and relatable.
realistic.
Yeah, so realistic.
dude.
So
Any you don't even need to be. I mean, no matter what your preference is, this is so realistic. We've all fucking been there. We're just, you had this. You were thinking about a person, and you're like, man, look at all the things I could do to this person. That's all you think about all day long. It's like what the definition of having a crush is,
Absolutely. And I think when I read these, because I read these when I was like 15,
You were like, oh yeah.
this really speaks to me, you know.
No, I get that. Go ahead,
Go ahead.
George. What were you saying?
There you go ahead.
You sure? Because all I was gonna say was like, when I started reading this, I was already in my early like 20s, whatever. But I do like the thing, especially he says, Artie, what's the one where it is like she needed to be saved?
Oh, because
Yeah,
she
but
lives
the
in
Northman.
England, because he tries to get his mind off it. So
Right,
he's
right,
thinking, oh, right, yeah, go back to the war, England. Ooh,
Right, right.
are these from England?
dude.
And to be clear for everybody who doesn't know what's going on, basically he's running around and he's thinking of he's like all he thought of was Artie by the docks as a dirty whore, Artie as a princess in a castle, Artie as West's sister doing it behind his back. It's like his
Yeah.
constant his constant fantasy rolling on.
Right. And but my favorite part is when like, oh, she's from England, and what if she was injured and he needed to save her for some dude, as like honest to God, for some reason as a teenager, I would have thoughts like I would save a woman from danger. Like what the fuck was I thinking?
Oh yeah, we've all been there. Yeah, I mean,
it's so ridiculous, but
we
I
all
get
want
it.
to be the hero and shit.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So
Again,
go ahead.
You know, it's something that a lot of people think about, but he, at the same time, it reveals even more of his like naivety. Because
yeah,
saving, does she?
no. Well, already also we see very soon on that he likes her, and she likes him to a certain degree, but she does not feel the exact same way that he does. She's not like fantasizing about him every moment of the day. Even though he thinks that she should be or is,
Of course. But I definitely think there's an element of, wanting something that you can't have.
Yes.
Or you can't have or you shouldn't have, because for him he's so worried about his place in society again. And so he arrives at the courtyard, right? He's running, he's having these daydreams, you could say, these fantasies, and then he gets to the courtyard and Wes is standing there, so his erection is just like
And I love this sort of awkward description of just, oh shit, this is for a run.
Oh shit. He might be able to. Mm-hmm.
As someone with a penis, I can definitely state that whenever you're fucking doing shit, you get an erection randomly. Even if you're not thinking about anything, it is the most annoying thing to happen when you're trying to be professional. You go up to somebody and you're like, oh shit. They're gonna fucking see it. I'm screwed. Yeah. My job is over. I'm not gonna make any money.
You gotta walk sideways. Yeah, you gotta be like, you turn your back to them. Yeah, you just
you're like squatting. You're fucking spreading out your legs in an awkward way, walking towards them. You're like trying to get it to go away, and it's terrible.
And of course, right at that moment, he runs into Major West, who's like giving him this death stare from across the courtyard, and he's like, "Can he read my mind?"
He sees my erection.
Yeah, exactly. He knows what I'm thinking about. Oh god.
Oh god, he sees the chubby. Oh no. and then he goes to West, and then it's like Luther West, and then Giselle stare down his shoes. And this part, oh my god, this kid, man, this fucking Giselle, he's just like they had not been getting on too well since West joined Burr's staff. And then West is like, Giselle's like, I couldn't escape the feeling that he was better qualified for the post. What the fuck? He's like, oh, he had excellent blood after all, whether he had experience or not. It's like, you son of a bitch. Yeah. It's like, you prick. And then Artie is still like, right between them. He's like, everyone knew that Wes had been first through the breach at Ulriok. Everyone knew that he had the devil of a temper. That had always seemed exciting to our boy Giselle, until he got on the wrong end of it. It's like, duh. That's what happens, bro. That's what happens. And then, basically, what we learn here is that Lord Marshal Varuz this isn't going to be a regular training session. Lord Marshal Varuz wants Giselle to get used to fighting in front of a crowd, so that he and West will spar, duel in front of people, right?
Yeah.
And all the important people are there,
Mhm.
including my favorite character in the whole series is Crown Prince Ladislaw.
Yeah, Ladislaw. Captain. Wait, Harrison, do it.
Capital. Captain Luther. Capital.
And I love the pronunciation when they start fighting, and Giselle kicks West over, and he goes, a touch, and it's like, a touch on the arse.
Oh,
yeah,
that's fucking Ladislaw's so fucking hilarious. He's a little shit, but he's hilarious.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. No, it's great. And we have High Justice Morovia there, and Glocta and Artie.
And Artie, and here's actually where I was talking about. West gets knocked on his ass. He looks up, and he looks up at Artie for like approval, basically. And Artie's like looking down at West, like, "Yeah, you piece of dirt, you scumbag. Yeah, eat it."
A faint, cruel grin.
Yeah, she's not even there to like.
She's not even
Giselle.
She's not looking at Giselle. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, she's not there for Giselle. That's where we actually see that she's not like she does not feel the same way that Giselle feels about her. You know, she's there for Wes to see him be like, oh yeah, see, that's what you deserve for not paying any attention to me. Which, to be honest, fair.
I mean, right, but I think
in any other book, this would have been, oh, and he looked up at Artie, and she looked back, and they made eye contact for a moment.
Right, exactly. But I do think her reasons for being there are multifaceted. You know, like I do think she wanted to like have a chance to not corner, but
I
like
mean, there's three men there, right? Of interest.
Right, like confront Giselle, you know, and then also like watch, you know, because think about it, Ladislaw's there, Morovia, like important people were there, so she kind of wants to be like around that. You know, she didn't come from England to just hang out and skulk in alleyways. You know, she like I think I talked about this in previous episodes. She wants to like, you know, be a part of things, and you know that's not a bad thing at all in any sense of the in any sense of the word. But then also like we know that if she's been feeling bored or like not paid attention to, and she's come to see her brother West, she's gonna like anybody would take some kind of like, I guess you could say, cruel pleasure in seeing that person being embarrassed, which it's very human to admit that, though.
Oh, definitely. It's that German word, Schadenfreude. Deriving pleasure from somebody else's suffering.
Sure.
Which is just Germany summed up, really.
Which, you know, speaking of enjoying suffering from other people, is
sorry for anybody that's listening from Germany. I don't really mean.
Damn it, George!
I was gonna make it
over it.
I was gonna make a joke, and then I was like, "No, shut the fuck up."
I'm gonna gloss over. Glocta is also there, and I love how that Glocta is just like fucking staring at Luthor. Luther's just trying to have his fencing. He looks over and sees Glocta just fucking grinning at him, all creepy, like yeah. What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah,
he's just trying to freak him out.
He's like, oh fuck.
And I'd love to hear Glocta's internal monologue in this scene.
I can already hear. He's like, "That's right, you little shit. Look at me and fear me."
Right, or he's probably critiquing Giselle's like, you know, footwork and whatnot, for sure.
He's like, not better than Bermudan Ghost.
Right, for sure. So like we know they duel, and West, you know, he's like, even Giselle says he comes on with much more ferocity than usual. Giselle has improved enough to where, you know, he can defeat West 2-0. Like he's very quick, at least. He's not strong or anything.
Pretty quick,
yeah. But he's very quick, Giselle. So they all congratulate him. You know, clap, clap, clap. You know, what is it like? Crown Prince Ladislaw, like capital. Like how do you say? Harrison?
Capital.
Excellent.
Captain
Right.
Luther, you're my man. He's like, you're my man. What everybody
Right.
says.
I love the kind of
Luther.
southern. I like the kind of southern Ladislau there. That's fantastic.
Captain Luther, you're my man.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, like Morovia comes up to congratulate him, and he's like, "Congratulations! Have you seen Gorst? Like, do you think he'll win?" And then Varus is like, "Oh, I haven't seen him, but I heard he's impressive." And then
He's like-
Morovia just doesn't believe that Giselle will beat him. It's just hilarious.
He's like, whenever you're done being a soldier, I guess I can give you a job.
No, here's the thing, and I think I took that as like, listen, you might not be cut out for being a winner in the contest, but hey, listen, us in our department, we're looking for great, promising people. If you want to join us, like he had no faith in Giselle.
Yeah, basically.
I also think this is a bit more of a calculated move for Morovia, and it does go to show this sort of the rivalry that we've been shown between Salt and Morovia, because as we know, after the Chancellor Ficht died, they are
Right.
basically the two big players now.
Right, they're jockeying for position, right? For
Exactly,
sure.
and having somebody that could potentially win a contest on your staff or working for you is a very valuable thing.
Yeah.
George, that was good. I didn't even think about it like in that frame until you pointed it out. Good job.
Yeah,
man.
that's a good point, man.
Mm-hmm. That was very good. So yeah, basically my note was like, oh, Morovia will think that Gorst will be too much for him. I wrote down Ladislaw is perennially confused because he's like, why isn't Bremerdan Gorst part of the army or whatever? And then Bruce is like, he is. He's like, oh,
Oh, and this is where he mentions that as a lore note that Brimaden Gorst is Lord Brock's kin.
Kins. Yeah.
And
Kins.
he's related to Lord Brock, and
Yeah.
he's a part of his household guard. And Lord Brock, if anybody doesn't remember, is the gentleman who was like, "This is a sham, an insult," inside of the open council whenever they confronted the Mercers.
Right. Exactly. And then so we see Ladislaw being just confused, but then like very supportive of Giselle. Clap, clap, clap. And then we get
bad.
that was great. And then Glocta, he throws in a little dig because he sneaks up behind him. He's like, "Oh, it's a great thing you didn't give up after all." And Giselle's like, "Oh." Like after he got scared shitless, he's like, I was never going to give up, And then Glocta's like, if you say so, bitch. And then what happens?
Artie.
Oh, Artie.
And he doesn't say anything to her.
Yeah, it's pretty rough, man.
Dude, that was bad. She was like, Giselle, I haven't seen you in a while. Do you have anything to say to me? And he's just like, oh, I gotta tell her. And then he just like, about face? Bye.
He's like, I'm time to go to guard duty.
Bye. I was like, oh, god damn. He just straight up ghosted Artie, as the kids would say nowadays.
Yeah. However, interestingly enough, I don't think this really bothers Artie that much.
I don't know, man. Like you could see, like she.
Well, don't get me wrong. It probably annoyed her that he's avoiding her. Obviously.
Yeah, but think about it.
I don't think it affects her as much as he thinks it does. You know what I mean? Like
No,
he thinks
but-
that, like,
right.
she wants me. She just can't be with me because of her brother. Oh, poor thing. And it's not really like that. It's more like she's like, damn. That we had
No,
something.
you know what? I didn't read it like that. You know what I read it as? I read it as Giselle. Actually, right here, this part, from the paragraph where he's like, he glanced nervously around. Glock was shambling away. Wes was long gone. No one was paying attention, right? They were unobserved. He had to speak to her. I think this is him, like the conflict of him being a fucking prick and then trying to do somewhat the right thing. Where it's like, you want to just either say, I can't see you because you're brother, or this or that. Like you're trying to break it to someone, but you can't really you can't bring yourself to do it. That's what I read it as. And then he was just like, I'm out, bye. You know what I mean? I that's what I read it as, because I mean, I feel like, a lot of people, we've been there. And he says he turned swiftly on his heel and walked away, his shoulders prickling with shame. I don't think it had anything to do with that. I think is that she came to him because like anyone ghosts us, I think we're all hurt, right? Even if you're like not that interested, by the fact that you thought you had some kind of camaraderie, some kind of connection, and this person just stops talking to you, you're gonna be like, did I do something? What the fuck? What's wrong? I thought I had the upper hand. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good point, Jeff. What do you think,
That's
George?
That's what I thought.
I think you both have a very good point there. I'm
Look
kind
at
of on the
George.
fence because obviously, Artie's clever enough to figure out that West has told her or told Giselle not to speak to her.
Right.
But at the same time, you're right because it does still hurt because pretty much as far as we know, Giselle's the only person who's spoken to her.
Giving her the time of day.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably would sting a bit.
Yeah, it's true.
And would maybe make you a bit defensive.
What happened? What was that last part?
I said might make you a bit defensive.
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he turns his back on Artie, and then he's like, okay, time to get back to guard duty and everything. So he comes up to the entrance to the Agriant, which is like a drawbridge, and he runs up there and he sees something weird. Oh, he sees Casper and Yoru Sulfur.
No. He doesn't see Sulfur yet. He sees Morrow.
Oh, he sees Morrow. That's right.
Right. He's like, well, what's going on? And then out of nowhere, you just hear Captain Luther. What a happy chance. He's like, son of a bitch, this crazy person's back.
Captain Luther.
I love how Harrison keeps doing it.
Yeah, I love the way Pacey does it, man.
It's great. And he's like, what the? Yeah, George, what'd you say? What the hell is he doing here?
Yeah.
You heard that? That was great. And then he's like, Yoru's just taking it in his stride because like Giselle's like, what the hell is he doing here? Yoru's just like, yeah, don't mind me. I'm just waiting for my master. I mean, if someone was to refer to me as if, what the hell is he doing here? I'd be like, yo, bro, you got a problem? What's going on, man?
Yeah.
But Yoru
is just always perfectly amiable.
Oh, always, somehow, some way.
He never takes any offense to anything. He just smiles back and goes,
well,
no.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Yoru, I can say with giving a little bit of a tease here, Yoru doesn't really feel threatened by people,
Yeah,
No.
of course not.
And typically people are defensive or sensitive because they feel threatened. And he doesn't have that issue.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That is true. Well, I mean, we already know that he's a magus.
Right. We remember. Right. We remember from that chapter with West that we know that Yoru not responds. I'm gonna cut this out. Responds, reacts.
The way that he
reports the bias. That's what it is.
Right. And that's what he says right here too. He says,
yeah, and then he doesn't say it though. He just says, I'm waiting for my master, and then Giselle's like, what the fuck? And then he's like, oh, here they are. And then we see the fruits of the labors of the theatrical outfitter when we see a magnificent old man striding purposefully across the bridge, bald head held high, a fabulous gown of shimmering red and silver flowing about him in the breeze. At his heels came a sickly looking youth. Why is Kwai always sickly?
he's just
holding
a
out.
Fuck.
Yeah, this fucking kid. What does he have? A cancer at 20 years old? What's going on here?
In my mind, he kind of looks like Gollum.
Oh shit!
Like a really kind of wrinkly and like a bit weird.
I have a joke in mind, but I'm not gonna say it because then we're gonna canceled.
Actually, I think he also. Honestly, I think he probably looks like, you guys know from Stranger Things, Jonathan. I'm sure people.
Yeah.
Jonathan, is Jonathan the brother of?
Yeah.
No,
he's the brother of Will. Yeah.
Oh, he's the brother of Will. Okay, then yeah. I know.
He kind of looks pale. He kind of looks always tired, a little sick. He got long, lanky hair, and he's like he's kind of like distraught looking. Yeah, I think that's always how I imagine him.
Yeah, that's a nice way of putting it. I always thought Jonathan looked like he was on drugs. So that's nice of you to say that way.
Sickly.
the way his eyes were, I'm like, dude, your bags should not be like that. Uh, yeah, so quite sickly, he's holding out the staff, and then a great brute of a man in a heavy fur cloak follow behind them. And then Giselle's just like, what the he doesn't even he's confused. But Baez steps before all of them, and he's just like, Yoru. And then Sulfur's like, Master Baez.
That's a good one.
Oh, thanks. I did that off the cuff. Thank you. And then and then Giselle's like, oh, Baez, yeah, he resembles the statue in the Kingsway and everything. I mean, the real person's a little fatter, but I mean, hey, wait a minute, it's a little weird. He's fatter, and there's no way he could be alive. What the fuck?
Yeah, he sees Bias, he sees Logan, he sees Kwai. He's a little off put by Logan being there because Logan is fucking
dude,
huge.
he's so off put by because he even says he's like, West told Giselle that the Northmen had been they're not typical of like the people in the North, and that they're a different kind, a tall, fierce, handsome people. And Giselle, for some reason, assumed or thought that people that lived sporadically in the North, like a nomadic lifestyle, almost, or very basic level of agrarian lifestyle, are tall, fierce, and handsome. And then he gets Logan. And Logan's all kinds of fucked up.
I like this because this is our first actual description of Logan.
Right, exactly. This is the first time we see what another person, like their perception of what Logan looks like, for sure.
And this whole thing about his one eye being higher than the other, so his entire face has been broken at one point.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Like that means, like you said, like the facial structure has been altered. It's crazy. Go ahead, George.
That's absolutely fantastic. Like you just see, because we get some details of his scars. He's missing a finger and things like that. But how much violence does somebody have to go through to get to that point where you're just completely covered in scars? That's the only thing.
Like a whipped back.
Exactly.
That's insane. A whipped back.
And we got a little bit in that earlier in the last chapter as well, when Malachus describes him as a big scarred, dirty gatepost.
Yeah, Logan's looks are not his strong suit.
Not his strong suit, but it's all right. It was all right. Harrison, were you going to say something else too?
No, I was listening to George. I think that's exactly right.
So then we get to the point where, like, Morrow, the undersecretary to Lord Chamberlain Hoff, if everyone remembers, Morrow was the secretary a few episodes back, where, funny enough, when he introduced Yoro Sulfur, he kind of almost freaked out. He was like, "This guy's from the Great Order of Magi." This is that same guy.
He's like, "How the fuck do you say this name?"
Exactly. So he's nervous. He wants to admit Baez, Logan, and Kwai to wherever they gotta go. And Giselle's like, hold the fuck up. Like, all of them? We're at war with the North. And then Morrow's like, listen, if you want to explain it to Lord Hoff, you are fucking more than welcome, but they're coming. I like this part. He's like, Giselle swallowed that idea, was not at all appealing. For some reason, I like that. I like the fact that he couldn't look Baez in the eye for long. And then he decides to be a cunt to Logan, where he's like, you must leave your weapons here.
And I like that he doesn't even try to talk to him normally. He just goes straight for the stupid slow voice.
Straight.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's like one of those racist things, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like xenophobia or whatever.
Exactly. It's xenophobia. It's like where you have the stupid racist like white guy. You have this little Mexican lady come up to take up the trash, and he's like, take my trash tomorrow. It's like, dude, what the hell is wrong with you? Like that's more rude than just trying to communicate. Like, Jesus Christ.
Right, and then Logan's just like, yeah, sure, here, I'm happy to. Here you go. And he's like giving him like 10 knives.
He's in. Can you imagine this? You see this huge Northman. This is my note too. You see this huge Northman. He's scarred, beat up. He doesn't look anything like what you've heard about. And you go up to him and you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy is fucking crazy. And then he goes, you can never have too many knives, and hands you like 20 knives. You're like, what the fuck? Why are you saying that to me? It's so random.
Giselle's like, and then Baez is like, shall we go? And Moral's like, without delay. And they're all going to leave. And Joe's like, hold the fuck up. I'm coming with you guys. And then Moral's like, yeah, you don't need to. He's like, listen, I'm coming because if anything happens, then I'm going to get blamed for it. So I want to make sure nothing happens until I drop all you motherfuckers off, which I do get, but he's still a pretentious prick.
Yeah. I mean, I think the only thing else that happens here is that he goes up to the fountain.
Oh, this is hilarious. Yes, that's hilarious. They're walking to wherever they got to go. George, you take over here.
And if you've never seen a fountain before, this must just absolutely blow your mind, doesn't it? You just walk up to it and he's like, there are pipes beneath and he just stamps the ground and he's like, pipes? What the fuck are pipes?
He's like pipes.
How? He's saying it like it's like some magic thing, like, oh, what pipes is this magic thing they can use to make water spray out the ground. He doesn't understand. He's just what the fuck? Right.
He probably doesn't even know what pipes are exactly. Think about it. Yeah. In the North, there's pipes aren't a thing, you know?
Yeah, so somebody just says this random word to you, like, and it just doesn't mean anything to you, and you're just like, wow.
He's like,
okay.
Pipes. Right, pie.
Just pretend to know what that means so that they don't think you're an idiot.
Yeah.
I just love how he's like freaked out by it too. He's like, what the fuck is happening?
6.5
so
foot child.
Honestly, even if you who don't read the series, like, just go to this chapter and listen to it. Skip to this part. Just hear this stuff described on the pipes. It's hilarious.
It's so good. It's so fucking good. It's just like pipes. Oh man. And then so Giselle accompanies them because Logan gets away from his fixation on frothing water, and they enter the Lord Chamberlain's anteroom, and Morovia is there, Lord Chamberlain Hoff is there, and even Archlector Salt. And then Morrow just closes the door on Giselle's face. End chapter.
I like how we don't get what happens in that room. Like, we don't get to see it.
Yeah, I like it too. Like, a part of me wants to know.
We know these characters well enough to know how well it's going to go anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
No, for sure. I mean, I like that too. I mean, a part of me always wants to know what's happening, but this is very good to like leave it that way. Harrison, what would you give this chapter?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 9.
Oh, nice.
And honestly, it's just simply because of the comedy. This whole chapter is pretty fucking. Well, the last half is hilarious.
It is. I mean, it absolutely is.
And honestly, anytime Vladislav talks, I mean, he's a prick, but goddamn, it's hilarious inside the audiobook. And,
you're my man.
You're my man, Luthor. My man. I just can't. I cannot. It's so funny, man. And then the whole pipe segment, him and Luthor being all like, oh, no. You're not going away on my watch. You're not going to fuck shit up on my watch.
Yeah.
He's like, there are pipes under the ground. And I just, it's so funny, man. Normally, I try to write these chapters on like, writing skills, what's going on.
Right.
Things like that. But this one, just hilarious. So 7 out of 9 for me.
Okay, George.
I'm going to have to agree. I'm going to say a 7 and a 9 as well.
For the same reasons?
He's mine now, Jeff.
It's so funny. And Pacey really delivers that sort of, better than Hollywood kind of atmosphere and voices and characters.
Right.
Just incredible. It really gets you.
Makes sense. I like that. All right. Well, I'm sorry to have to disappoint you guys, but I'm going to have to give it a 7 out of 9.
A what?
7 out of 9. Did I break?
Oh!
I think my microphone clipped. I'm sorry, guys. So yeah, 7 out of 9. I'm matching you guys. I fucking love this chapter. This is a great chapter.
3 for 3, boys. That's
3
what I'm
for
talking
3.
about.
Look at that.
The
All
trifecta.
across the board.
Trifecta.
Trifecta.
awesome.
That's it. That's what it is. This is trifecta. We can't fight this.
And our
Honestly, for the same reasons as you guys put, and honestly, there's when you're the third person given the rating, you can't really give your rating eloquently. At this point, you're just like, yeah, you guys, whatever you said. If it's the same rating, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think we should move on to our character spot, which is our next segment. And you want to take it from here?
Yeah, so Morrow is our character spot. He's a really small character, and we've only seen him twice. But I kind of like how he's just like the stereotypical secretary, you know, but instead he's a little overwhelmed. The first time we see him, he's like afraid to say names. He's like terrified of the Lord Chamberlain. The Lord Chamberlain is rude to him. Here, he's like, no, Luthar, you don't know what you're doing. But he's like still just a little bitch, kind of, and he's just trying to do his job. You know, it's nothing much, but I do appreciate how, you know, he didn't have to be a named character at all. It didn't have to be the same person in any means. But Joe took the time to bring in this character, show him as being kind of a stereotypical secretary, but someone who was kind of afraid. Which, to be fair, if I was in the Union, a government official, any moment, I could be fucking fired, disgraced, and never get a job ever again in my life. So I would be terrified too.
Tear into a black bag for saying the right thing.
Right.
Exactly.
The Gestapo. Right.
What do you guys think of Morrow?
I think it's exactly like you said. Like, this is just a regular guy trying to do his job, and everyone's so angry, and he's just like, "Come on." I just want to take these guys to a meeting, and come on. Everything just doesn't work out for him, and I think everybody's been there.
Jeff?
No, I like Morrow a lot. I think it was a very good choice to have him as our character spot. I mean, just the idea, just the fact that, like, you know, the guy, I don't want to say oppressed, but the guy's really been pressured by Hoff. Like, to the fact that, you know, like in earlier chapters where it's like, we're introducing Northmen sorcerers. Please don't burn me. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and the fact that Hoff is sending the same guy to bring forward a group of magicians with the Northmen as their bodyguard. You know what I mean? Like, the man is just stressed out, and I feel for Morrow. I really do. Morrow is full of sorrow. I just came up with that. That's not going to catch on anywhere, but, you know, whatever. I felt good about it.
Sounds like a t-shirt.
It'll be on a t-shirt. We'll be having coffee mugs and t-shirts and stuff, so that'll be one of them. Morrow's full of sorrow.
maybe one day.
Maybe one day. We'll see. We'll see. You guys like that?
Yeah.
No, let's go on. All right. That's a show, everyone. We want to thank you for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next week as we cover chapters Next, Better Than Death, and Sore Thumb.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're active on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit. And all the handles are Circle of the World Podcast. And just search anywhere you can for that. Send us your messages and your memes.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you listen to podcasts on. And please rate and review this podcast as it helps us spread our reach. Thank you all again for listening.
There are pipes beneath the ground.